Hi, in today's video I'm going to be taking a look at the Emacs Desktop Notification Center, or EDNC for short. And what this is it's a package that turns Emacs into something that can receive notifications much like you would with GNOME. So you can see here, normally on GNOME you'd have notifications showing up here. And in a previous video here, what I did was show you how you can actually disable GNOME notifications using this simple guide, using pkill to kill all GNOME shell notifications and create an auto start file so that every time we log in it kills the GNOME notifications daemon. And what we're going to be doing is replacing it with EDNC. And I said this is a package that's written in pure Lisp, and it doesn't send notifications, it receives them and then displays them inside Emacs. So if we come across here, here's the basic usage. This is what it looks like. And this is the advanced usage, where what you can do is actually have the notifications displayed in the mode line or in a pop-up buffer. So what I'm going to do is come across and show you this. So first of all, what we've done is installed EDNC with package install EDNC. And what we have here is a little chunk of code. First of all, we've got GNOME notifications disabled. So what we're doing here is running EDNC mode 1, and that enables the EDNC server. And what this does is it uses dbus. So it listens to all the notifications on dbus and will actually display them in a pop-up, and you will have a log view. So this is the chunk of code from the EDNC GitHub page here to pop to buffer for every new notification. So what I'm going to do is actually show you this working. So what I'm going to do is actually generate a notification here using notify send. So if I run notify send Emacs, and we're going to give it a message. So this is a notification, and when I press return, what you'll see is we get this little pop-up buffer down here that we're switched to. And what it's doing is it's saying notify send, so that's the name of the program generating the notification. It's giving us the title and then the actual message, and we can actually have this closed. Now you can press Q to quit this. If I press Q to quit this, what will happen, if I open the buffers here, you will actually see that the buffer is still alive. Pressing Q doesn't actually kill the buffer, so I can actually come back and open that notification. If I want to close this buffer and the window, I press Control X4O. And what you'll see is that the buffer for the notification has now disappeared. There is also the EDNC log, and what this is this is a log of all the notifications that have come in to Emacs, and you can actually come in and view them all. So you can actually view all the previous notifications, which is a real advantage over, if I come up here, you'll see there's no notifications here, but with GNOME notifications, what happens is the messages will pop up, and frequently they'll be collapsed by default, so you actually have to move your cursor over the notification to expand it. And if you've not read the notification and it comes up in here, it will come up collapsed and you can't expand the message to actually read it. So that's a major problem with the way GNOME notifications work, is that you can't actually read the messages in the notification center because they're collapsed and the text is truncated, so you can't read them. So the advantage of the Emacs desktop notification center is we have a log view of all the incoming messages, incoming notifications. We can expand them like this. We can dismiss the notifications. So there are some key bindings, but for some reason I'm having problems getting the key bindings to work. But we can run EDNC dismiss notification, and you'll see it's now got a little line through it here. And what happens is if I was to dismiss these two, so EDNC dismiss notification, if I was to kill this buffer and generate a new notification, and then come back to this EDNC log, you'll see there's only one notification in there now, the new notification, because we dismissed the previous one. So I haven't figured out how you can actually get the log to be dynamically updated so that when you dismiss something it disappears from the list. So you basically have to sort of, reopen the log, and then it will show only the new notifications and not the dismissed ones. So what I'm going to do now is generate a notification for a video. So what did I call it? Yeah, pkill gnome notification. So what I'm going to do is I've opened the video here, and what I have is a script that is called Now Playing that uses Empress, which is a sort of plugin that can get data from the currently playing video. So like the playhead position, the title, the thumbnail, the duration, that sort of thing. And what I'm going to do is run Now Playing, and what you'll see is, it's not actually come up with, you can't actually see the thumbnail here because it's blue. So let me do this again with a thumbnail you can actually see. Okay, now let me just move this. Where's that MPV? So let's see if I can find a frame where it's actually no notification. Okay, here. So this frame here, you can see it's sort of a black background. So what I'm going to do is run that again, Now Playing. And what you'll see here is we've got the notification come up. You'll see there's a tiny image of the frame from the video saying notify send. It's giving us the title of the video. It's saying the player is MPV, the status is paused, the duration and the position. And what I'll do is I'll actually go into the images in a bit, in how they're displayed, how it calculates the height, and also how other packages like OpenWith can interfere with this, and how there might need to be some kind of workaround. But if I quit this by Control X for O, and I come into the log here, what you'll actually see is the two videos. That was the first frame where you couldn't see it because it was a background that's similar to the background I'm showing it in here. But what you'll see is we have the notifications logged, and of course you could actually come through and copy this text from the notifications, which you can't do normally with notifications. You can't sort of, if you click on them to try and select any text, they'll just disappear. So what we've got is images from a notification being displayed in Emacs, and all of the data. Now, there's some things that I'd like to add to this that would be useful, in my opinion, is timestamps would be nice. So it'd be nice to be able to generate a timestamp in this view, so you could actually see the time that actually came in. And it'd be nice to perhaps, you've got this sort of view here. So what you can see is this is a notification without an image, and when I tab, it expands it and you can see the text. When the images come through, what it seems to do, you can see I'm actually mousing over the images here. what it's the way it's presented is the image and then the title, and that's the sort of like when you have a Dunst notification, you might have an image here and then the title and some more text. It'd be nice if we had this reordered in another way, so that you had, if I expand this, what I prefer is to have the image down here, obviously at a bigger size, and only shown when you tab. And the reason for that is it's obviously going to have to draw a lot of images when it loads up this log view. So in my opinion, it'd be better if they were actually in here. So what I'll do is actually have a look at the code and how it's working out the height of the image and the placement and stuff like that. But this is the log view, and as I said, you can, if I come across to the keyboard shortcuts, there are actually some keyboard shortcuts here. So D is just supposed to dismiss the notification, but I actually haven't been able to get this to work. So if I want to dismiss the notification, what I might do is Emacs EDNC dismiss notification. Do the same thing over here, EDNC dismiss notification, and again. And unfortunately, there isn't a way that I can see to select multiple notifications and dismiss them. But if I now quit that view and run that again, come back to the log, EDNC log, you'll see there's just one notification in there. So I haven't figured out how you can actually get the log to update and hide the dismissed notifications without killing the log and reopening it. But this is sort of handy because we've got a view of all the messages coming in. So what I'm going to do now is put a message in with a URL. So what I'll do is notify send YouTube. And the way notify send works is you have the message title and then the message body. And if you're putting a URL in, you have to put the URL in the message body, because otherwise it doesn't work. So what we've got here is we've got the link. Now this is another thing I wanted to cover, is that the links aren't automatically clickable like they would be in a org file. So that's another thing that would be nice to work out. I think there's something called actions. I think there's something called actions in here where you can specify an action that will sort of be performed when you click sort of a notification, but I haven't actually got into that yet. But what I wanted to show you was that the URLs by default aren't clickable in the EDNC view. So again, I can I can close this notification with Control X 4O, and that kills the buffer and the window, so that we don't have lots of notification buffers being shown here. Because what we're doing is we're using this little chunk of code here to pop the buffer. Now, as you can see, what happened is that pops up a little buffer down the bottom of the window. There's another function, forget the name of it offhand, but something like switch to buffer pop to frame or something. And what that will do is that will pop up the notification in a new frame. So in Emacs, what you would typically call a window is a frame, and the thing displayed inside the frame is the actual window. You know, that kind of makes sense from a, you know, how you would describe an actual window. But when I'm talking about frames, I'm actually talking about the whole frame here, and this is the window. So opening a new frame will open in the notification in a new Emacs client. But what I've got set up is I've got Emacs set up to open all frames full screen. And what I haven't figured out is how to get a notification to open in a small frame. There's a thing called fit buffer to frame, or fit frame to buffer. And what that does is that sets the size of the frame so that it just matches the size of the text inside the window that's being shown. So it should be possible. It is possible to actually get these notifications to pop up in a new frame, in a new Emacs frame, showing the notification. And the reason why that's would be useful is because if you're sort of, in Firefox here, you won't see any notifications till you switch back to Emacs and see them popped up in the buffer. But if you could pop them out into a frame, into a small little frame, you'd have a notification that appeared above other applications, which is kind of the way you'd be used to it, with programs like Dunst and things like that. Let me just top up the tea. So this is the block of code that actually pops the notification up in a buffer. And as I said, it is possible to modify it to pop it up in a frame. But what I haven't figured out is how to actually resize the frame. So you could set this up so that it's going to pop up notifications in a little Dunst style thing here. And what would need to be worked on is actually the things like the size of the image, making the links clickable by default. So what I'm going to do is actually come across here and have a look at some of the code for this. So this is the EDNC.el file. And what you'll see here is it's requiring dbus an image, and dbus is used to receive the notifications. So let's just have a sort of kind of gander at this and see if we can sort of make anything out. So these are some of the functions that have been defined. Like update log buffer. Okay, this is the EDNC mode map, and this is how it defines the keyboard shortcuts that you can use in the EDNC mode. So you have like tab that toggles the notification to expand it and collapse it. And you have other ones here like invoke action. So there is a thing where you can invoke an action, which I presume would be where you'd have like a link and you'd have an action so that when you click on the link, it does something like open that link in the browser. And then we have D for dismiss the notifications, and these also have mouse commands as well to do these things like left click, right click, that sort of thing. So this is the block of code that actually defines the key maps, and I did try sort of playing around with it to try and get the keyboard shortcuts to work, but they just weren't showing up for some reason. So that's one thing that actually needs to be looked at, is getting the keyboard shortcuts working in this mode. And then we have the sort of notifications. We have this EDNC dismiss notification, which is when you open a notification, if you run MX, EDNC dismiss notification, it puts the little line through the notification. We've got the toggle expanded view, and there's a section down here on the image. So let's just search for image. 35 listed, okay. So this is the set icon string created from new notification. There was a section here about the height. So image property, max height, line pixel height, image property, ascent 90. Okay, so if we come back here and have a look at this, what we can see is the image is the same height as the line of text. So this image is basically calculated to be the same as the line of text here. So that makes sense from sort of looking at this bit. So this seems to be what is actually controlling the size of the image. So what you kind of need to do is actually figure out how we can reposition the image. I guess it would have to be on its displayed here on its own line, you know, so you could have the title, then the image below it, and set the image to be 3 or 4 lines high, and then have the text. Or otherwise, what you'd have to do is say, you know, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines of text here. What we'd have to do is put the image at 5 lines of text or 6 lines of text, and then have the text beside it, if that makes sense. So you'd have the image and then all the text. So you need to figure out a way to actually get the image bigger so you can actually see it, but it will actually display things like, if you get a comment from YouTube, for example, what it does is it will actually display the icon of the person making the comment, which is quite nice. So it does support images. Now, the other thing I wanted to come through and mention is OpenWith. Okay, so OpenWith is a package that allows you to create a list of associations from file extensions to the application you want to have them opened in. So as you can see here, we've got a list of file extensions for videos, and what we're doing is we're saying open those file extensions with MPV. I've got one down here for PDFs, open them with the Thora. And we've got this section here that's actually commented out. And what that does is that takes any image file extensions and opens them with NSKIV. And what that is that's a command line image viewer that is a successor to SXKIV, which is a suckless application. And NSKIV has support for WebP animated images. But the problem is, if we enable this block of code that's commented out, what will happen is every time we get a notification that has got an image in it, what it's going to do is open that image with NSKIV, which is not what I want. So the other thing is need to figure out a way to set this EDNC mode not to use OpenWith. So there must be a way to actually, in this sort of, you know, block of code down here, so it's something to sort of disable OpenWith so that it doesn't open the images that come through with notifications using OpenWith in NSKIV. So that's just something else I wanted to point out that I actually come across and need to do a bit of work on figuring out why that is. So this is the sort of basics of the Emacs desktop notification center. We first of all, we had to kill the existing notification daemon. We start it and we put this block of code in here that we got from the page back here. So I said, what you have is a couple of options listed in here. You can have the notifications actually shown in the mode line or in a pop-up buffer. Now, if I were to enable them in the mode line, what would happen is, because of the way I've got tabs set up here, what will actually happen is the notifications actually get displayed in the tab bar up here. But because they're all on one line, you can't really sort of read them. Now, as you see, we've got this pop to buffer thing here where we have the buffer pop up at the bottom. There's also ways to, if I hang on, in Emacs, there's ways to create what are called sort of side windows. So you can see here, I showed you this in a previous video, where I've got a keyboard shortcut that will toggle a side window showing dired, and as you can see, it's actually showing the current directory that I'm in here. So let me just switch across to this and quit it. So it would be possible to actually have these notifications come up in a side window as well. You could have a side window that's permanently open, and the notifications would actually appear in there, much like you have on something like Mac OS X when you, or Windows, you sort of click on the left and it'll come out of a bar showing, you know, all the notifications and stuff. You can do the same thing. And as I said, the other thing that you can actually do is actually pop these, instead of popping this to a buffer that appears down here, you can switch the buffer pop to frame, I think it is. If I can remember the name of the thing, I think it's a switch to buffer other frame. That's it. Switch to buffer other frame. So what I've just done there is I'm just going to evaluate these and do a notify send. And what you'll see now is after I've changed that, you see that we now have a window that's a frame that's popped up showing the notification. So if I just go like here, so what I wanted to show you here is about the frame. So you can see I had the frame opened. So builders, I had the frame open full screen by default, because I have some settings that do that, and I'll show you those. What I would like to be able to do is set this up so that it opens the notifications in a new frame and sizes them sort of like so. I would also like to be able to disable the mode line down here because we don't really need to see it. So it'd be nice if we could have a pop-up that sort of is like this, because if I can, right, so what I want is a notification that pops up in a frame, so that if I'm in Firefox or not in Emacs, that the notification comes up here like this, so I can actually read it. We don't want all this stuff. You know, you could probably get rid of the title bar as well, I'm guessing, so that we just actually had the frame here just with the text. And also it'd be nice to be able to dismiss this, because I think EDNC dismiss notification. Okay, yeah, dismiss notification. So what happened when I did that, you can see it returns back to the terminal here. So there is some sort of behavioral issues you need to figure out with how you would actually. So you can see here that's now marked as been dismissed. You can see it's got the line through it there. As I said, we've got the switch to buffer other frame option here, and that's what controls the buffer being opened in the new frame instead of a new buffer inside of Emacs. And if I come into my early init, what you'll see down here is I have these 2 bits of code: add to list, initial frame a list, full screen maximized, and then to start every frame maximized, I have default frame a list, full screen maximized. And that's what's causing the notifications to be shown maximized in a frame. So I need to figure out a way to actually override that setting, and I haven't been able to figure that out because I don't really know much Lisp. It's just been a case of sort of hacking away at stuff, rearranging bits of code, putting things in, you know, trying to MacGyver it to try and figure out, you know, how to get around some of these issues that could be improved with the EDNC setup. So it'd be nice to be able to sort of get this figured out, you know, switch the buffer of a frame, open the notification. So again, so let's do another notify send Emacs rocks, Vim sucks. Okay, and you can see there we get this, we got the notification up here, full screen in a frame like this. And I think if I do I need to do a Control X40 or a 50? So Control X40. Okay, so that attempted, yeah. Let's try that again. So if I open the buffers, you should see, no, the buffer's gone there. But I just want to see if I can kill the buffer and the window. So is it MX50? Hang on. Yeah, okay. Oh, so we've got notification 12 listed there. So is that Vim sucks? So that's the one we just sent. So what we're trying to get across here is that the notifications will sort of still show up here as a buffer because we've been opening them as a new buffer. So there is some, if we have the previous bit of code here, pop to buffer. So these are some settings for undo tree that I mentioned previously that I picked from Sasha Chua that shows the diff and the timestamp of the changes. So we change that back to pop to buffer. And if I do that again, what you'll see is it opens in the buffer here. And if we do Control X40, it will kill this pop-up thing and the actual notification. So that was the previous one, Vim sucks. I just wanted to show you how the buffers appear, and you can see that these will all appear in the EDNC log. So this is the nice thing about this, is that you have a log view of all the all the messages that comes in like this. So you can actually interact with them. You can copy the messages, which you can't do with the GNOME notifications. You can see here. Why has that come up? Okay, this has come up because I got a video open, so I've still got that video open actually. So let's kill that video. So that's why I was getting the thing up there. That wasn't a notification, that was just a thing showing what was currently playing. So that's the Emacs desktop notification server. Some of the things you can actually do with it, sort of either showing the messages in the notifications in the mode line. You can actually also include only the newest notifications per application as well. I haven't looked at that. And this was the chunk of code that I basically sort of pinched and was playing around with. But if you do a search for this, you're not going to get a lot of stuff apart from the GitHub page. There's not a lot of information about this, and so I haven't really been able to find anything to sort of tweak any of this stuff apart from actually kind of having a gander through the code and sort of figuring out, okay, well, yeah, this is what's causing the height of the images to be the same height as the actual text. So I'll have a look through this, but I just wanted to pop out, sort of mention a few things about this and how it sort of works and some of the possibilities that you could sort of use it for, and some of the areas where it could definitely be improved. As I said, I can't get the keyboard shortcuts to work to, if I press D, it's not dismissing the notifications here. So need to get the keyboard shortcuts working. Be nice to be able to resize the image, and also sort of switch to, you know, this switch to buffer thing. Which was it? Switch to buffer other frame. Yeah, switch to buffer other frame. So we got pop to buffer, current buffer. And what that does is that creates the buffer down here. Then we've got switch to buffer other frame, and that's what opens the notifications in a new frame, which is, I guess, kind of what you really want, so that you can actually see the notifications when you're not in Emacs, because otherwise, you know, you might miss them. So that's some of the things I've come across, and I think it's more useful than, you know, the default GNOME notifications, where, so by default what will happen is notifications with notify send will actually be collapsed, and I showed you a way to get them to be automatically expanded. But once the message is popped into this view, there's no way you can actually interact with it. You can click if you click the notification in this view, it dismisses it, it doesn't expand it. So you can't actually read the notifications in here because they're collapsed and the text is truncated. So this is, in my opinion, like someone was doing a mock-up of what an interface should look like without actually thinking about the usability from the user's point of view. There's just no point in having something where you can't actually read the previous notifications. So that's where sort of finding another notifications you know, center comes in. And just finish this tea off. So yeah, this has got some nice features. You've got the EDNC, because I killed that log, it's no longer available. Yeah, so if I now run another notification, what you'll see here is I can now come across to EDNC log, and we'll see the log there. And to kill this one down here, Control X 4O, and as I said, that kills the actual notification buffer in there, but we still have the log view. So even if you kill the notification that comes up in the buffer, it's still available in the log view unless you dismiss it. So you can come across and you can sort of read it, come across, copy that. Vim sucks. See, so you can copy the text, and that's something that's really useful that you can't normally do. So I'll put links to this under the video, but I said there's not a lot out there about this. Literally all you're going to find is this page here for the Emacs Desktop Notification Center, and so it's simple to install. You know, package install from Melper EDNC. Make sure that you've killed your GNOME notifications if you're using GNOME, which you can do very simply using this guide or this video I just did. And basically have a look down here, show notification in mode line, or pop to buffer for every notification, which is what I'm using. And again, this is the actual code. It's about 400 lines. So that's pretty cool. You know, you can hack away at this and sort of get it to do what you want. But I think it's a nice notification system, but it does need some work in things like the images, and also how we could actually pop out the notifications to a frame. So this is the switch to buffer other frame. So let me make sure I've got that evaluated. And as you see, we've got that come up, but again, what we really want is it to sort of come up a bit more like this. So what we kind of want is something like this without the mode line. So there is some code to disable the mode line in a window, but I can't seem to get it to work in this. So that would be nice to sort of clean that up. And so there's also a command called something like fit frame to buffer or something. And what that's supposed to do is automatically resize the frame so that it fits the text inside it. So that could be something to be used, but I think it's got to be something like a live window. So need to figure out something with that. And also, if I just close this, will it show up as a buffer down here? Yeah, you can see that's still showing up as a buffer. So you need to figure out a way to close that notification and kill the buffer, so we don't have a lot of buffers hanging around. So that's basically the wrap up of Emacs Desktop Notification Center. You got a nice log view of stuff. You can, if I put that back to default mode, as I haven't figured out the popping it up in a frame. And you can see we've got that come up here. Control X 4.0 to kill it, and it will come up in the notifications down here. So it's really nice in that you've got a log of all your notifications, and also you'll get a sort of pop-up showing when new notifications have come through. But as I said, it'd be nice, I think, maybe to pop them out into a frame, so that if you're working away here, you know, looking at something in Firefox, that you would get the notification come up here in a little frame. That'd be handy, because otherwise, you know, you might miss a notification and you know, see it in Emacs. It's not a biggie, but it's just, you know, something that might be possible. And also getting the links clickable by default, so that, you know, when we have a link notify send, and let's put a new message, grab that. So it'd be nice to have these, you know, underlined as a link that's clickable, but, you know, that might not be possible, but, you know, you can just come in and copy the actual text. So you still got the functionality, but you know, it's just a little tweak. And the other thing is, maybe in the log view, what would be nice is have it formatted sort of more like an org document. It'd be nice to have little stars down here. I mean, because by default it sort of looks like, it will look like this. So I don't know, it'd be nice to have little stars down here like an org document, and also have it set up so that if you've got an image, it's not displayed before the icon's not displayed before the text here. It would actually be displayed inside the body, and adjust the image size so that it's not actually just one line high, so that you can actually see the image. But those are just some things that I've come across using EDNC for a couple of hours after figuring out how to kill the gnome notification daemon. And yeah, I think it's got some good possibilities with a bit of tweaking. It could be really useful. But even out of the box, it's pretty cool, and it does work with desktop notifications from YouTube. So if you come into YouTube and into your settings, there's actually an option to turn on notifications. And what happens is, when you get a notification in Firefox or sort of Chromium, what will happen is that notification will show up listed in Emacs, and it will say like Firefox, and then it will give the title of the comment. It will actually display the icon of the person making the comment, and then some text, you know, underneath it. Can't remember if it actually gives a link to the page with the comment on or not. I think it might do, but I'll have to check that out. But this does work with images. But as I said, one thing I did find out was with OpenWith, what I had to do was comment out the image section, because otherwise what was happening is when I get a notification with an image in it, it would launch NSKIV, which is listed as the application to open images with. So you need to figure out a way to disable OpenWith in EDNC mode, and fix the height of the images, and sort of, rejig how the message is displayed. Maybe get it to pop up in a frame, as I said, automatically sized without the mode line, so that it looks more like a sort of Dunst notification. So just see if I can find anything that's actually got any, something that's got an image in it. So like this one down here, so you can see how you've got the image and then sort of like your text and stuff. That's the kind of way we want to have it formatted. So you'd have the image on the left and the title and the text and everything like that in the pop-up. But in the log view, I think what you'd want to have is, you wouldn't want a load of images listed like down the page. What you'd want is to have something that you could expand, and then the image would be shown in the message body with the text. So there'd probably be you need to have kind of two different sort of views of the notification, depending on the log view, or on the sort of view in the frame or in the sort of pop-up. So that's kind of that's the way I'd like to be able to style it, more like a standard Dunst notification that would appear above the the current desktop, so it doesn't just appear in Emacs. So we missed the notification. So it'd be nice to get this to have a little notification that comes up here that you could read, you could dismiss, you could click on. So if it had a link, when you clicked on it, it'd automatically open the URL. So those are the things I think need to be looked at with this. But I think it's pretty cool. As you can see, there's the sort of the images, and that's how you dismiss it. I haven't figured out getting the key bindings to work. As I said, it'd be nice to be able to dismiss multiple notifications at once, because at the moment what I'm doing is EDNC dismiss notification, and even if I select all three, you can't dismiss multiple notifications. EDNC dismiss notification, no active notification at point. So it will only dismiss the notifications one at a time, which is a bit of a pain. So it'd be nice to be able to do that. I think this is this read only? Yeah, so this is actually also a read only buffer. So you can't just come in and go, oh yeah, just delete those. So that's a sort of another thing, that the actual buffer is read only. But if I was to, if I was to dismiss, if I was to kill this and notify to send, and then reopen it, you see we just got the single message there. So that's some of the quirks about how it sort of works. But if you keep the EDNC log open, you will get new messages showing up. Notify message 1, blah blah blah. You see that comes up instantly, and we get the notification there. And the notifications from applications like Firefox will show up. It's just I haven't got anything coming up. If someone made a comment on a YouTube video or something, it would actually show up in Emacs. Another nice advantage of this is, with no notifications, what happens is the notifications only show up if you're not in full screen. So if you have the browser or whatever window full screen using F11, so that you can't see the title bar, you don't actually see the notifications. I'm guessing that may be the same if you actually use if you create a new frame with Emacs. If you were full screen, you probably wouldn't actually see the notification just because of the way GNOME works. It won't. If this application's full screen and you have try and launch something on this display, it's not going to be displayed until you come out of full screen. So that's another thing that just maybe that's just sort of GNOME specific. But I think that's everything I can sort of cover. I've only been using it for a couple of hours, but I think it's pretty cool, and it's got some good uses, and it's really got a lot of advantages over the standard notification thing because you can actually read the messages that have come in, which is sort of kind of the point of notifications. If you have notifications in here where they're all collapsed, the text is all truncated with ellipses, you can't actually read the messages. So what's the point of having a notification center where you can't read the previous messages? And if you click them, it doesn't expand them, so you could actually view the message. It dismisses them. So as I said, in my opinion, the notification center on GNOME is much more like a designer's mock-up of what something should look like without actually using the thing and seeing the behavior that you'd want from the notification center. Actually having messages expanded by default when they pop up, so you don't have to mouse over them. Actually being able to see the messages in here and click on them and view them and interact with them, that's pretty basic. So that's why I switched from GNOME notifications, and I was looking for something to replace it with. Just did a search. Was looking at Emacs packages. Just did a search for notifications. Came across this. There's literally nothing out there about this that I could find. Any blog posts or anyone using it, anything like that. So I haven't sort of delved too much into it, and because I don't know too much sort of Lisp, I haven't actually got my head sort of around some of this code. But I can see where things are sort of put in, like the size of the images and how things are sort of positioned to create the notification. But have a look at this. I think it's really interesting. It's another killer feature that Emacs has got that, for instance, Vim could only dream of. Having a built-in notification server that will receive all the debug messages, show them in a log, show them in a pop-up, images, links, you can copy the stuff. But as I said, what would be nice is to have things like generate a timestamp somehow in the log to see when messages has come through. So I'd like to have little stars down here. I think just make it just a bit more a bit nicer. And also the deal with the images, that's kind of a bit of a killer thing to be sorted out. And I say it's you got this view, then you got the view of the actual message. You could have the message pop up here. You could have it pop up in the sidebar. So you could have a sidebar that's always open that would show the notification. So you could actually make as I say, what you got here is a sidebar you can toggle. You've got side windows in Emacs. So what you can actually do is create a sidebar for the EDNC log. So you can actually have a sidebar that was always visible, that was always showing the log view here. So you'd actually see all the messages come in the sidebar in real time using the EDNC log. So that'd be another a nice thing to automatically have a view, a little keyboard shortcut you could toggle on and off to show the notifications in the sidebar. I mean, if I switch this to, I'd probably just switch that to this buffer. Can I? Yeah, so I just switched that sidebar to that buffer. So like this. So I've actually just sort of dummied that up there, so you can see I've got a buffer here. I open this to, let's open this to another buffer so it's a bit more. So that's a scratch. So we've got the scratch buffer here, and then we've got the EDNC log view there. Can I switch across to this? Okay, let's do it this way. So this is just like kind of dumbing up. So you might want to have this on the right hand side because that'd be more normal. But I just wanted to dummy this up. So notify send. And you see it's gone sort of weird here. It's now sort of gone a bit mad. It's showing it in the sidebar. That's basically what it's doing. It's showing that because I've got the sidebar open, it's not popping up here. It's popped up in the sidebar. But you can see that if I pop across here, you'll see that sort of comes through in there. So yeah, you can actually have a side window open with the notifications coming in, but you may need to figure out some stuff so it doesn't actually pop up the buffer into the sidebar. But I just wanted to show you that that's possible, and I think that's a wrap up of everything. I can't think of anything else to cover. Dead easy to set up. All you need to do, again, make sure you kill any existing notification server. Emacs package install EDNC. And then all we had was this bit of code down here. EDNC mode 1. This bit of code down here to pop up the notifications in the buffer. They show up down here, and then it'll automatically focus them, and to kill the window and the buffer you do Control X 4.0. And as I said, you have the let's get this back to the EDNC log. So you have the EDNC log, which will show everything. You come through, copy all the messages. And that's just something that's really useful. You have a complete log of stuff, and you can save this log into a text file, into an org document, something like that. So it's really useful to get messages from both things like notify, send, but also it's really handy to actually integrate it with desktop applications like Firefox or Chromium, so that you get notifications from things like YouTube comments. So you would actually get all your YouTube comments come up in this EDNC log view with icons showing the person who's made the notification, and all the text. And I think it should link back to the page the comment was made on, but you need to look into the EDNC, the actions thing. There's the show action, when you click return. Where was it? Up here. I missed it. I think it was just this bit up here, the default invoke action. Yeah, EDNC invoke action. So should be a way to actually set it up so that when you click on the notification, it performs the action and opens the URL in the browser or what have you. So that's all for now, and as I said, there's literally nothing out there about this, and only came across it a couple of hours ago, and I thought I'd switch to using this for my notifications. But yeah, there are quite a few things where I think it could be improved. As I said, it'd be nice to have the notifications pop up in a little frame, nice image, text all aligned and everything without the mode line. It'd be nice to have timestamps and log view, rearrange how the position of the images in the log view, just general things like that. But I think they could be done. It's just, unfortunately, I don't know any Lisp, so it'll take me a while to sort of hack around and figure things out. But I think it'd be a really nice alternative to the standard GNOME notification center, which is pretty awful. So that's all for now, and I'll put links to all this under the video.